Okay, so for all of you who are joining us on this webinar, welcome once again. And this format is going to be a quick conversation with Jim, where I will have a couple of questions to kickstart with Jim initially. And then, of course, we will have all of your questions coming in. So please make sure that you are able to kind of share your questions on the chat panel, which we will definitely bring up for Jim to be able to kind of answer some of those questions. Just also one quick check, if you can on the chat panel also add for us your application or experience with the Kirkpatrick model. If you can also make sure that you rename yourself with your name and organization will help us, especially when we are calling out some of the questions you're posting. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what has been your experience with the Kirkpatrick model? Please go ahead and put that in the chat, and we will pick that up for discussion. Just to also guide us a little bit more in terms of some of the ways of working, here's a couple of suggestions I have. This is a little bit about C2C as an organization. So you're a team of consultants, facilitators, providing solutions across organizations around the world. And my request to you is for a better participation and engagement. You make sure that the questions are posted on the chat panel. Keep your questions concise and to the point. Consider your questions benefit for the larger group. Try and avoid close-ended questions. It'll be useful to get the time that we have with Jim to be able to get some really detailed answers. And wherever possible, we will definitely unmute and allow or invite someone to speak. But if you follow this, I think we should be in a good place. But Jim, coming back, thank you once again for taking time. But I was just getting started by asking maybe a quick couple of questions initially. There is so much about the Kirkpatrick model that that I have come to learn that is a lack of awareness that is there. Most of us believe what we see on the net as the 4 levels being a stack of pyramid or a stack linearly stacked on one top of the other. Not many of us are familiar with the New World Kirkpatrick model. So I just thought I will quickly ask you to maybe start with that a little bit more so that everybody comes to a base understanding of what the New World Kirkpatrick model is and how is it different from the old model that we had.
Well, Jawad, my pleasure to be here. It's been probably 10 years since I've been in India, and I spent time different cities, but this is as close as we can get for now, isn't it? And the good news is that you're there. I don't have to be there to make this successful, but together we will, which is what today is about. And, I made a talk at a large group a few months ago and asked them, how many are familiar with the Kirkpatrick model? They all raise their hand. How many and I put up the triangle. How many of them have seen this? Oh, all of them. They all use the triangle. And then I put our new model up there. How many are you familiar with that? Hardly anybody rose their hand. So it's very interesting that the way the triangle looks, it's level 1 is at the bottom, and then 2 and 3 and 4. But since the triangle goes like this, it looks like level 1 is the biggest piece. And then level 2 is the second biggest piece. And then a little less for 3 and just a little tip for 4. And that's really the opposite of what the New World model is. The supercharged model, whatever we want to call it, that really the emphasis is more on 3 and 4. And a lot of training people or learning people say, oh, wait a minute, that's not our job. Our job is to design, develop, and deliver training and yet the truth of it is that to add much more power and influence to what you're doing is to spend more time, what we say, across the bridge from the learning side to the performance side, to the workplace side. And that's really what a lot of the new world is about, is redefining learning and development, which is a lot of just training, into how do we help people actually apply what they learned. And if we do, we will see more success than just leaving it to chance or leaving it to the training class.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for that. And of course, one of the other things that we normally hear about is a lot of the misconception. One of the misconceptions is that 3 and 4 are difficult, right? Level 3 and 4 are difficult to do, and we're very comfortable with 1 and 2 many a times, and that's really where we seem to have a lot of strength and a lot of focus and a lot of energy and resources on. So, what would you say about that?
I say you're exactly right. Now, I know all over the world people call subject matter experts SMEs. They are the supervisors and the line managers that we want to ask them what kind of content should we put in our training. And that's fine. We want to make sure it's relevant to actual performance, not things we're making up. But it's time we return the favor. And rather than saying, can you help us? We need to say, we've got something that can help you with your people to do their job better. And it's really, we call it performance management or whatever, because supervisors are often not well equipped to know how to get the most benefit from the training with their employees. And so that's really just picture that, rather than the subject matter experts always coming to us, which is fine. Return the favor and be performance experts to them, not subject matter, but performance experts, and help them with their coaching and mentoring and touch bases and all those kind of things. So it's redesigning and balancing the workplace with the training place.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that, Jim. Just maybe one more thing, and we'll see if there are any questions that have come up on the chat, Jim, for us to take from the audience. But one of the questions has many times been, I've always heard a lot of L&D professionals, HR professionals tell me that in private they do share that it's very difficult to get support from the business leaders and the managers' time to be able to do the necessary monitoring, to be able to see what kind of impact or results are happening. And so that is another big area that comes up in the conversation. But unfortunately, I don't think that we have kind of spoken about it very openly and kind of done a lot to be able to kind of have that direct conversation, set those expectations.
Okay.
That's my impression based on what I hear from a lot of the HR and L&D professionals that we meet up with. How do you see that, Jim?
Well, those are probably the most common complaints that we get, or common questions, is how do we get stakeholder buy-in? In fact, that's number one. How do we get stakeholder buy-in? And you know what they're asking? How can we get them to buy into what we're doing? Okay. How do we get them to buy into us? And really the solution is, how do we take ourselves and buy into what their needs are, rather than the other way around? Why don't you get behind our training? It's because they don't see it as adding value. They see it as cost center. So what we suggest, and rather than trying to get to the high stakeholders, way up high, is try and work with line managers. And what that means is inviting yourself or inviting them to have a conversation with the ones that you think might be open-minded, the ones that maybe have been subject matter experts, and say, you've really helped us with our subject matter and our content. We appreciate that. I've got an idea now that maybe we could help you by making sure that the training investment that you are making is really paying off by people doing their job better. And hopefully you pick ones that you think are open-minded and mission-minded, and it might say, Jawad, that's really an interesting idea. I never heard that before. You think you might have some ideas? And Jawad will say, yeah, I think we do. So you set up a time, and now listen carefully. What you don't want to do is interrupt them, because you want to start out saying, what's going on here? What are the performance needs? What are opportunities? What are threats? Talk about their work, and don't say, oh boy, we've got a great training program for you, or we've got some great new model, competency model, or upselling. Resist the temptation. Ask them the second question and the third question and the fourth question. Tell me more. Tell me more. And pretty soon, you know what they're going to say? You're not who we thought you were. I'm really pleased that you're interested in our performance, not just training people. Do you think you could help us? And the answer is, if we work together, I think we can help. And that is really the key. And I talked to Stephen Covey about that. And he says the same thing. Seek first to understand before you seek to be understood. And you know what that does? That builds trust. And they trust you that you are interested in their issues, and you're not going to interrupt them and try and sell them and peddle something to them. And what happens from there is usually something positive, because here's the last step here. Yeah. First step is reach out. Second step is ask them if they're interested in collaborating. And the third one is select a pilot program, a small, simple, high-profile program, and execute it properly. And that becomes the proof of concept. And then they will say, hey, this thing really works. And that's, Jawad, where we don't have to worry about the high level CEO, because the line managers will be the intermediary and they will spread the word up. So we just really have to get buy-in from the supervisors and managers, and they will do the rest by saying, hey, Jawad and his team, you won't believe what we did together. And the senior, because they have access to the senior leaders where we don't. So that's a very simple formula, but complicated doesn't work. But the return comes from a variety of sources. It comes from the training, it comes from webinars, it comes from talking to people, and from coaching and mentoring and touch bases. And so we really look at it as a formula to success rather than an event to success. Now, here's something very important, everyone. I want you to listen carefully. Traditionally, and all too common, people think evaluation at level 1 is a smile sheet. After the class, we give them a smile sheet. Oh, did they like the food? You know, did they like the instructor? All that kind of stuff. Level 2 is a knowledge test. You know, how well do you remember what we told you? Level 3 is often a 60 or 90-day survey, which is, hey, how's it going out there? And level 4 is, well, they just say you really can't get to level 4 because it's too difficult. Well, the key there is concept. Excuse me, I get all choked up about this. It's so important. Blended evaluation. Do not trust a single source, single method like a survey to the participants or a test. Do not trust a 90-day survey that's going to give you very much in the way of valid information and data. It is not. And people are making decisions, major decisions, on a smile sheet, a knowledge test, and a 90-day survey. So what we want you to do is to use a variety of methods for evaluation. For instance, at level 1, you want to be talking to the instructor. You want to have people, expert, observing what's going on in the class. You want to be asking them about, are they finding relevance? Are they staying engaged? And you do focus groups and a variety of things. Same with level 2. Don't just test someone's knowledge to know if they're going to do their job. You want to also have them do touchbacks and role plays and things like that. Now, let me tell you the biggie here, level 3. Do not wait 60 days. Do not wait 90 days. Do not wait 30 days for the mission critical programs, because Jawad, I know you and I have talked, because most of that training investment is going to hit flat on the floor and be wasted. You might as well write a check to your favorite charity as opposed to have them write checks for the training, because what needs to happen for the big programs, leadership programs, cyber kinds of things, is you start with day 1. You hear that? When they're back on the job, start with day 1 for somebody. Maybe it's you, maybe it's supervisors, maybe it's peers, to say, welcome back from training. Now let's get to work. They'll say, wait a minute, I just got done with training. Are we starting already? Yes, because the longer you wait, more likely there is going to be that the people won't remember, and there will be no incentive, and they'll go about doing their normal job of what they did before. Complete waste of money. So Jawad, you know about that, don't you? So tell us your experience with starting immediately for those big programs to have some kind of support and accountability.
In fact, one of the key things is to be, what we've seen with some of our clients here that we worked with, is to actually have what we call a driver's package created so that it's supporting the behaviors that we want people to be able to inculcate. So because we know how difficult it is to kind of get behaviors going, a change in behaviors. So that could be some monitoring mechanisms or methods. It could be some rewarding mechanisms and methods. But the focus is there. We're trying to build a certain set of factors that will enable people to be able to demonstrate the critical behaviors that we want them to actually get to for performance to be eventually possible. So that's something which we've done with some of our clients to be able to get a lot of benefit, whether it's attrition, etc. But one of the things I remember, Jim, and in continuation to what you were just sharing, one of the questions that has come up also is a lot of people rely on supervisor letters and surveys that happen after the program for impact study, right? As part of the impact study. So, what has been your experience? How effective have you seen that? Or is there a combination of things that you can do? Maybe 3 or 4 things that you can bring together that maybe works for most of the programs that we deliver.
Oh, our recording stopped, did it?
I think, just give me 1 minute. I think, yeah, just give me 1 minute, Jim. I think, okay, it's started.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well,
supervisory notes is what I was telling about.
First of all, I really like what you said. Once you build a relationship with someone, you start to build trust, and they realize that you're there to help with performance, not just take your training money and train their people. One of the things that we find is so critical is mentoring. And I know everybody, we do mentoring training, and that's good. But it really needs to be targeted to their job. For instance, Jawad, if you hire a new person for your company and they're doing some things, you'll want to sit with them, won't you? You or one of your other seasoned professionals and say, well, how's it going? Oh, I just got here. I know. How's it going so far? And that mentoring is doing several things. It's encouraging them, right? It's reinforcing that you care about them as employees, but it is also kind of holding them accountable because you're going to ask, you had these 3 sessions. You only turned in your paperwork for 2. So, that is one, mentoring, and it doesn't have to be the supervisor. You are very wise about that. It can be just a graduate from the same program that is wise and helpful, and they're trained to do it. Another one are frequent touch bases. And I know that you do that. We do that at Kirkpatrick Partners, where for major programs, we meet once a week, not once a month or once every quarter, but once a week to make sure that we're talking about how's it going? What's working? What isn't working? How can we make adjustments? Because the Kirkpatrick model is about making adjustments. The other models are you just do the training and you sit back and you wait to see if it worked or not. It will not work. And so what we do is we say, well, Jawad, we're not quite getting the pull through with what has been happening. Let's see if we can figure out together with business people where the hang up is and what we need to adjust. So it's constantly monitoring and adjusting. And that's why the infrequent evaluation right afterwards, 90 days later, how can people make continuous improvements without continuous evaluation? And it doesn't have to be heavy things, just touch bases, fingers on the pulse, saying, wait, you know what else happened? Wait, we're really getting a lot of successes from this particular unit here. Let's go and talk to them and find out, what are you doing that the rest of us can learn from? So it isn't just looking for trouble and making adjustments to resolve problems. Just as much and just as important as find out who's doing well and to congratulate them and to find out what they're doing. And the reason that works is because if we are seen as somebody going to supervisors, line managers, unit leaders, whatever, and always telling them things that aren't working, they're going to close the door when they see us coming. They're going to hang up. But if you go and say, there's some really good things happening, and here are the people that are doing it, why don't you go and tell them how much you appreciate it? But there are a couple things that we think can be done better. So you've got to start with a positive, then say, because then they're going to be more open. Now, a lot of our industry, the learning and develop industry, is afraid of level 3. They're afraid of the workplace. Oh, we don't want to go there because they might not want us to be there, or they tell us mind your own business. But the way is, if you build a relationship first, they'll say welcome to the team.
Okay. Thanks, Jim, for that. And I think there's also another question on chat, which is asking more about intangibles. And how do you measure something like intangibles that you may actually have? So, and is it possible for us to have some sort of a measure that you can look at?
Yes, there are. Here, I thought that's a very common question and a very good question. What I often hear, even from people close to me, they talk about measuring all the time. How do we measure level 2? How do we measure level 3? We've got to try and stop thinking that everything has to be numbers, because that question says we don't have numbers for that. So there are two answers. One is you can make numbers out of it by, for instance, having a rubric, and I think you know what that means. That means you're observing things and you're seeing to what degree are they doing it on a 1, 2, 3, 4 basis with descriptions. And so obviously that rubric helps you to know what kind of observations on the job that you're looking for, or supervisor or peer is looking for. And then you can get some numbers from that. 3.5 here on this behavior. A 1.5 on this one. We need to do something about that. But the other answer is not everything has to be numbers, because truth comes in many forms, and we talk about qualitative data as well as quantitative data. You're shaking your head because you know what I'm talking about. Tell me what you know about that.
Just at one of the organizations that we worked with, Jim, and this is a company in Europe. It's a large IT organization. And we were not actually allowed to collect any data to measure impact. But because we were going in and out of the organization, doing our work in terms of helping them train, etc., we would be actually part of many of their lunch discussions and table conversations that were there. And we were actually picking up a lot of buzz that we're actually hearing about how things were becoming better. And it was not something that we could actually have as a documented testimonial coming in from people, but it was just conversation and the positive energy around how things were actually helping actually get better in the way they were actually doing things because of the learning they were having. So it was actually great to hear. And we actually eventually did see the impact of that training for the organization and its outcomes. Because it was a pre-sales team, there was a possible number, client testimonials started to come in, and so on. So it was actually validating what we had actually started seeing as an intangible aspect that we were picking up on a lunch table conversation, actually.
Well, let me. I'm going to keep going with this because let me ask you this: what kind of relationship building do surveys create when you send people long surveys? How does that build relationships with the line managers and so forth? It doesn't, does it? They just say, "I'm too busy doing my job." Now, here's where I want to go with this: when you were sitting around the table, the table conversations. Did you notice any collateral benefit that came from that as you were there listening and sharing with them?
It was more, it seemed like naturally building a relationship with them too.
That's right.
Listening into their challenges and what was getting better, the positive reactions to it. So that was good, actually.
Right. And so if all people are doing is sending surveys across the gradient between the learning, formal learning, and the workplace, that doesn't build any relations. In fact, a lot of times it just upsets people. They say, "Leave me alone. I don't have time to fill out your surveys. I'm too busy working." But actually going there, introducing yourself, either just casual conversation or for a purpose. Like you were saying, you were trying to get more qualitative information to see if there were trends and patterns. And if it supported the other data that you have, that builds relationships, because you know what? Jawad, I know if they didn't say it, they're thinking it. They're saying, you're not who we thought you were. We thought you were a learning guy that is just testing people and training people and surveying people. You actually are someone who is helping my people do their job better. And so here are the words, the quotes. One is, you're not who we thought you were. If you hear that, Jawad, and anyone listening in, that's a good sign. That's a good leading indicator that they are saying, I thought you were just taking our money. I thought you were just training. You're not who we thought you were. And then here's the ultimate statement you want to hear that tells you you're on track successfully in your career, your organization. You helped my people do their job better.
Yeah.
That's it, because that's our whole purpose. Our purpose is not level 4. Our purpose is level 3. And if we help them do their job better, guess what? Level 4 takes care of itself. And those same line managers that are saying that, Jawad, you helped my people do your job better, or any of your colleagues, they're also telling their higher ups, Jawad and his team are helping my people do their job better. And that is where you get the return on expectations. And then they will see you as adding value rather than the cost center. That's the whole secret. And it's not that hard to do. You did it with those table discussions.
So, Jim, I'm very curious, and also because I keep hearing this from some of our clients, most of the L&D folks tend to have a pre-test, right? A survey for checking satisfaction in the room,
Yeah.
a post-test, or some sort of a learning assignment, and a survey that goes to the manager later. So that's pretty much the format that most people tend to kind of work with. If not the survey,
Keep going.
what else would be some ways to kind of go about doing that? Now, you and I just spoke about maybe having those discussions, lunch table conversations. Maybe these are also ways in which you can actually gather good data.
Okay.
But is there anything else that you can help this audience understand?
Yes.
If not these, what else?
How about an example? You've all probably heard of NASA, the space people. And we work with them for a number of years, and they're kind of our pride and joy of what they're accomplishing. First of all, what they do for their course descriptions or their syllabus. Now listen, for major programs, what they do is in the course description, they'll say, well, here are the learning objectives that we will be working with you on. Then they also list, these are the critical behaviors that we will expect you to do when you get back on the job. Here are the ways that you're going to receive help from us and from your line managers and mentors in order to accomplish that. And here are the NASA outcomes that you will be contributing to. So that's one simple way. You don't do that for every program, maybe 1 out of 10. And right away, the instructor is saying, now you see this? This is not just the course description and our precious competencies. This is the journey that you're going to be on. This is the beginning of that journey. And we're going to be helping along the way, along with people back at your job. That's one thing they do. Another thing that they've done is they used to do smile sheets or surveys right after class. Okay. And then they'd all look at them and say, oh, this question about the instructor fell below the threshold of 4. We better do something about that. So they're looking at thresholds. And now, what they do is they still do surveys, but they do about 6 or 8 questions, not 36. The specific questions like, I'm clear about what's expected of me back on the job. The instructor helped me understand the material, or I believe that if I apply this, it will help me do my job better. Those kind of things. They also have the instructor fill out a form after the training with questions about how did it go, what worked, what didn't work. They also invite instructional design experts to sit in on a class and say, is this being delivered properly? They don't rely on the students to say, is this delivered properly? They don't know. That's not their job. But you bring someone in, that it. Now you also bring somebody else in someone that's not just looking at is it being delivered properly, but what is the reaction of the students, of the participants? How are they responding to what's going on? They also bring in line managers from the business side who sent the people to training, because they want to know, is this training helping them do their job better? You know what they do? Instead of just looking for a threshold for a question, they gather together virtually or otherwise, and they say, let's look at all the material, all the information, and draw some conclusions and see if there's any lessons that we can learn, both positive or not so positive. So that's what that is called blended evaluation, and that is intelligent evaluation, not whatever the opposite of intelligent is.
All right, thanks, Jim. And if there was like 2 or 3 things that you would probably want to advise L&D folks and HR people to kind of be focused on when it comes to being able to get to results or outcomes, what would those 2 or 3 things be?
Oh, yes. Well, Jawad, you know very well that we call those outcomes leading indicators, don't we?
Yep. Yeah.
And what that means is when people are doing their job well with all the help that we're talking about and that you teach, there will be traction that comes from that. There will be signs of success. Like even when you said you do the table conversations, one sign of success, of traction, is people will call you and say, can you come back? Or someone else would say, hey, we heard that you were in with Charlie's group. Do you think you could do it with ours? So those are signs of traction, signs of success, signs of hope that are absolutely level 4. Now they're initial level 4, but the key there is you want to ask the leaders what should be on that list. You shouldn't develop it yourself because you don't know, but say, here's Jawad, what I'd say to you at the C2C, I'd say, all right, what would you say would be like the 6 most important indicators of your organization's success? Now, I might say, here are some ideas we had. Either pick from these or share your own, because we want to make sure that you pick ones that are meaningful and credible to you rather than ones later on you'll say, that's not important to me. That's not important to me. So the most important thing is to ask them or get them to check the ones that will be on those milestones up the mountain or on the journey or whatever metaphor you want to use. And and then what you're going to do is you're going to figure out how you're going to track those things. Now, you may not track them, Joanne, but somebody on a business side will. So you're really just tracking success and making adjustments based on the level 3. You said it earlier, the driver package is churning up those behaviors, and you're checking to see that there's progress. There is, terrific. If there isn't, you've got to go send a little team in there and find out, why are we not seeing traction and good things happening from this? But if you do a good job at level 3, level 4 often takes care of itself.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. And I'm going to ask you something that I can myself answer, but there are a lot of these organizations out there that put out these various tools, right? You have Excel sheets that have been created. There have been various templates that have been created and marketed as something that will help you do your learning effectiveness really well. Sometimes they claim that this is aligned to the Kirkpatrick philosophy. So as somebody who is the creator or originator of the model itself, the New World Kirkpatrick Model, I want to maybe check with you to what's your opinion about these?
Well, I'm not real happy about it. I can tell you that, because a lot of them are the old triangle or the old smile sheet to pre and post test, the 90-day survey. If you see those and they say they're Kirkpatrick, they might be Charles Kirkpatrick or Benjamin Kirkpatrick, but they're not Jim Kirkpatrick or Don Kirkpatrick. And I think, Jawad, you and your high-level colleagues know that stuff well enough that I suggest you send it to Jawad and his team to look at, and you'll be able to quickly say, yeah, there's some good stuff, or Now that is old Stone Age, the Dark Ages stuff that it just doesn't work. And they may be innocent about it, but they also may be purposefully trying to pretend that they're who they're not.
Okay. All right, Jim. Jim, just maybe quickly shifting gears just to look at maybe more from a trends perspective that we are seeing today across organizations. Of course, one big trend is artificial intelligence. And today, a lot of people are going to ChatGPT or Gemini or such to be able to either get maybe survey questionnaires, maybe get maybe a design done, or maybe some sort of suggestions for maybe what could be methods or metrics that should be evaluated on. So I just thought I'll probably ask you what your view around that is.
You mentioned a couple things that I'll respond to. One is, I'm pretty sure I heard you use the words artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Good. Well, let's start with that. Artificial just means technology. It's not a live person. It's artificial. And that kind of stuff can be very helpful, obviously. Now, the word I worry about is intelligence, okay? Because artificial, somebody may take their level one, their evaluation model and say, we're going to do a smile sheet at level one. We're going to collect data on that. We're going to collect test data, number two, and a 90-day survey, level three. And we're going to automate it. Okay, guess what? That is artificial. But listen carefully. It's not intelligent. Whatever word is opposite of intelligence, you fill in the blank, because it's garbage in, garbage out. So just because somebody puts something, in a artificial technology point of view, does not make it intelligent. So what you need to do is make sure you're putting in good stuff, things that I'm talking about, things that you teach in bronze and leverage and silver. Automate that, then it's AI, and it's intelligence, not any other words I'm thinking of. Now, the other thing is what that does when you're streamlining good surveys and the right kind of skills testing and confidence and the required drivers you mentioned of behaviors. When you automate that, guess what happens? We're finding people all over the world have more time to build relationships. So Jawad, you maybe haven't heard me talk about this. We want to couple AI with GR. Everyone hear that? AI plus GR. GR stands for genuine relationships. And that is the key to all this, the key to AI, because we don't want technology just to take over. We sit back and push buttons. You still need to build those relationships, and AI will give you more time to do that, more time across the bridge. And I talk in terms about dual citizen. We want you to be dual citizens, but not between India and the United States, but between learning world and the performance world. Dual citizen, and also be bilingual. And that means not just talking learning language, but also talking the language of the business. So think of those concepts, that I think will help bilingual and dual citizens, because now you're going to be going back and forth between those words and those language. And one little tip here, do not use the word learning solutions, learning journey, learning objectives, all those things with people in the business, because you know what that's saying? Danger, cost center, money down the drain. Use performance and use execution and use their language. Now, if you want to talk about learning, do it with your own learning team. But that is a language, when you're talking about, your learning professionals, you're hurting yourself, because they're just going to think this person isn't going to help me. All they're interested in is teaching people. So that's one little extra tip that might be helpful.
That's a terrific point, Jim, because I've seen the difference myself. Because at the moment I'm talking learning professionals and how learning can be helpful, the conversation is, okay, so this is your domain. You need to take care of this as a learning professional, right? You are responsible for it. And the moment you say performance, then there is a collective responsibility, the manager responsible for performance, the leaders responsible for performance, and the whole paradigm basically shifts there. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you on that.
But you know what, Jawad? Learning and development is hanging on desperately to the word learning. They're making tons of money with learning. They keep buying people new LMSs and new survey tools and new programs and training. They're making billions of dollars around the world on that stuff. So they're not letting go of this, because what we're talking about doesn't cost very much. What about you sitting in a table conversation? How much money did that cost? Just your time. So I'm telling you, we're up against a tremendous foe. And what we need to do is protect the training investment by being on the other side. And I talk about protect and leverage the learning investment. Hopefully senior leaders will get that, because you protect it by making sure you start day one, not day 60, and that you continue making sure that it brings value. But watch out, I'll tell you this learning thing, and I hear people, I was on an airplane, a couple months ago with a person from Best Buy. I think maybe you've heard of the Best Buy
in the US, yeah.
And he was a senior business leader, and he found out what I was doing. I'm talking to him, and I say, "What do you think of training?" He said, "Oh, I wish they'd just leave me alone." And I said, "Well, why do you say that?" He said, "They keep trying to sell me the same old thing, but they put different names to it." He said, "Now it's upskilling." He said, "But and I'm just quoting him, what he said. He said, to me, it's lipstick on a pig. It's the same old pig all the time. The pig is good for learning, but they try and gussy it up. Oh, upskilling and different things. But it's the same old thing. It's the training and it's the learning, and it really does very little to help me." So he was getting so upset. I always had to be, "Shh, you're making too much noise. The flight attendant's going to come and tell you to calm down."
Surely, Jim. Jim, I think there's also a query around, because of generative AI. The question is, what does the future for the Kirkpatrick model look like? But I'm just kind of add my own experience to this. When we were at the Kirkpatrick Summit in June, I remember all of us going to Gemini and GPT and asking questions about the Kirkpatrick model. And believe me, because the internet is so full of all the various misconceptions and the traditional conversation around the four levels, it did not talk anything about the new model at all, the new Kirkpatrick model, the new World Kirkpatrick model. So actually, AI is not giving the information that is the accurate information around the Kirkpatrick model. So, which also leads me on, and going from there, I want to also check with you, as you see these trends, though, shaping the future, what do you see for the model's future, the Kirkpatrick model's future? Do you see it still being versatile enough to be there within the new environment and the new context, or do you see any changes coming up?
I see it's going to become extremely successful, and it isn't just going to be because level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. All the other knockoffs, all the other evaluation models are very, very scholarly. They're very impressive, extremely complex, and absolutely unable to execute in the real world of work. And they focus on the science of it. My dad in the 1950s, he was already talking about evaluation is a science and an art. And Jawad, what's going to carry us is the art, and that is the relationships that we need to build, the trust we need to build, the communities of evaluate working together. Then the science works, but the science alone is not going to do it, because people are saying we don't see any value in that. We don't even want to hear you keep hounding us all the time. Buy this, more. We want you to do more surveys. The answer is the future is in the relationships. And Kirkpatrick Partners, I don't think we even call it the new World Kirkpatrick Model anymore. It's just a Kirkpatrick model. Again, it's come full circle. My dad was a relationship builder. He built relationships in 30 countries personally by going around. Sure, he taught some stuff, but he built trust with people and it's going to come full circle 70 years later that is what needs to be done. And that's what I do. I don't get too much into the science of the model. I gave it to all you, but it comes back down to people trust me because I am there to help them do better, not there to just say, here's some more training materials that we want you to buy.
Okay, all right, Jim. Thanks. And yeah, I think there's a lot of questions around where do we go get this information on the new World Kirkpatrick model, etc. So I just wanted to quickly respond to that. One is, of course, the certification programs that are designed to actually provide the right information. That's one source of you getting the right kind of templates, the books and the necessary information to be a practitioner of evaluation. But Jim, is there anything else that you'd like to add? I know the Jim Kirkpatrick Partners website is another terrific resource.
I'll tell you, they've gone way beyond what was there before Vanessa and company came on the scene a little more than a year ago. And the website just overwhelms me with the value that's there. And there's testimonies. There is now a Kirkpatrick community that just go on there and click it. That is, you don't have to have gone through bronze. It's for everybody. And so really what we're trying to make it is a place where everybody can go and share with each other and have true conversations and success stories and just the variety of different things that we have to offer. A lot of it is based on what people are telling us. So the Kirkpatrick community and Vanessa and I, we've done a bunch of podcasts together. And it's just like me talking, only Jawad, it's Vanessa and me talking. And we talk about a whole lot more than just the Kirkpatrick model. We talk about life, and we talk about future and relationships and hope and those kind of things.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for that. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience that's there? Maybe a final set of thoughts that you'd like maybe share before I actually share with the audience also a bit in terms of where they can go look for some of this information, when the next set of certification programs are coming up and so on. Yeah.
Well, we do, and I do a lot of work with the U.S. Navy. And some years ago, I was teaching a bronze program with them, and there was a woman by the name of Beverly. And she was pretty shy the whole time. And in the end, I thought I saw that she had something to say. This was live in Washington. She kind of raised her hand and she put it back down. I said, Beverly, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure I saw that your hand kind of went up a bit. Was there something you wanted to share with us? She said, well, I don't know if it'll help, but I'll tell you. She said, about 6 months ago, as an instructional designer, I was on the shore, working in the schoolhouse, doing my job and designing training for the people on the ships. He said, well, it came to me, I had a little extra time, that I got permission to go on a boat out to a couple of the ships. I said, you did? How'd that go? She said, wow, were they surprised to see me? And she started talking to them, and she did not interrupt. She did not hijack the conversation. She asked them about what their jobs were and asked them about how things are going. Asked them, what are the biggest challenges? And she just got more and more information. And finally, that's where half an hour ago, I said the words, you're not who we thought you were. That was Beverly. That was what the commanders on the ships said to Beverly. You're not who we thought you were. And it came down to one shy person that overcame her shyness and thinking that she's just an instructional designer. And she took a bold step, bold for the Navy. She said, I care about our security, peace. And it took her to go there and turn people's heads. And then the whole Navy later on in different groups started adopting the same thing. And now they go out to the ships by the dozens because one person did something different. And that's what the future of the Kirkpatrick model was. It started with my dad and it carries on with me, but it's a whole lot more than the two of us. And there are Beverlys on this call right now, and that you have worked with and you will continue to work with. And Jawad, I just want to say how good it is for me to be here and to to know what's going on there. And I may not get to talk to you very often, but I'm really proud of you and proud of what you're doing, you and your colleague.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jim, for that. And it's always been a terrific conversation with you, whether it's been virtually or whether it has been in person, over a steak or over a drink. It's always been good. Thank you very much for joining us, Jim. For the audience, I know that there may be a few questions that we may have missed out, but our intent is to come back to you with a response to that individually. So we will definitely harness the chat and we'll come back with also the right information in case you want to be, if you're looking at references to resources, etc. I think my colleagues have shared some links on chat for you to be able to kind of access when the next set of certification programs are. They're available both in virtual and in-person format. So that should be helpful. So Jim, thank you very much for this. And I also want to tell the audience that this recording will be available for a certain duration of time where they can access the conversation and listen to it again, especially all those who've been, who participated and been here. So I just want to say thank you to everybody once again. And thank you, Jim, for joining us and sharing this insightful insights with us. Look forward to again chatting up soon.
And Jawad, I will see you again.
Surely, yes.
In person, like we've done.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. And we will share the information with you. We'll share the recording. I will probably just leave this on for your messages to come in so that we can harness the chat and then respond back to any of your questions that may be in there. Thank you very much. So, Jim, a lot of people are saying thank you on chat.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah.
For
your time and for the conversation.
And it's me that's thanking you as well. Okay, bye.
Take care, Jim. Thank you very much.